Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fern. I am part of the Student Success team at Target Jobs. Thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar with BAE Systems. I'm really excited to be joined by some representatives from BAE Systems today who are going to be going over a little bit more about their application process, hearing from their current grads, and engineers at the company about their experience so far, and also having a bit of a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar as well. If you do have any questions for them, then please put them into the Q&A tab, and they will get around to answering them both throughout the webinar and also at the end. But for now, I'm going to pass over to Jenny, who is going to kick things off.
Hello everybody, my name is Jenny. I work in the early careers team as a talent sourcer, and so I'll be hosting the event and introducing to you to some of the fantastic people that we have at BAE who are going to be able to share some experiences of them, especially working as women in STEM backgrounds. So I'll start off just giving a quick run through of what you can expect from today's 1 hour session. So we've first of all, to kick us off, we've got a presentation from one of our female engineers, Lucy Davis, who's going to share some of her insights into working at BAE Systems and what she's been able to get involved with. We've also then got two of our current grads on the call, Katie and Scarlett, who we're going to have a bit of a panel discussion talking about some of the experiences that they've had joining BAE Systems on the graduate scheme and some of the things that they've been able to get involved with as well, coming from a STEM degree background. Then our last section, we have two of our graduate recruiters from the early careers team who are going to give an overview of sort of the application process and around some of our roles and locations to share with you, because hopefully you'll want to apply after hearing all the lovely stories from our guys on the call today. And then we'll have a question and answer session. And as Fern says at the start of the session, if you do have any questions throughout, please do add them onto the chat. Our recruiters are also there to answer questions throughout on the messages also. So we'll start with our first section. So I'll introduce you to the lovely Lucy Davis, who is going to give a talk about her experiences. So I'll pass over to you, Lucy.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So hi everyone, I hope you're having a good afternoon. So I am Lucy Davis. I am an aerospace engineer, so I'm working within the air sector of the business, and more specifically I am a technical manager. So within air, I sit within our Falcon Works line of business, which is it's a new section and we're trying to do things differently, do different things and do them differently. I think it's kind of our slogan. So it's moving away from the legacy programs we've got. So I'll get into kind of some of the work I've been doing, and within Falcon Works, sit within a team called Sustainable Air Platforms. And I think I've put electric products in this pack, but we've just rebranded last week and apparently we're going to rebrand again next week. So the name may change throughout this presentation. Right, hopefully that's changed the slide for everyone. So what I've just pulled here is my path, just to give a bit of background and kind of my journey to how I got here today. So I went to Loughborough University and studied aeronautical engineering, and I initially started on a 3-year course. I was going to get my bachelor's degree and then finish university, go into the industry, but I decided to change to a 5-year course. So I did an industrial placement scheme with a master's degree. So at the end of my 2nd year, I did a summer placement. I went to Caterpillar. I moved over to Belfast for 3 months. It was great. I'd never been to Belfast before, so I got to be a bit of a tourist as well as learn the technical skills. So I was a manufacturing engineer there. Then in what would be my 4th year of university, I did the industrial placement scheme. I did this at BAE Systems. So I went to Defence Information, which was at the time it was part of our air side of the business. It has now moved, so it's part of our digital intelligence section. And I was a systems engineer there, and I was working in Christchurch, which is down south. So I kind of done a bit of everywhere at this point. And I decided when I came back, I was going to come back to BAE Systems on the graduate scheme, but I wanted to be working in Wharton. So I moved all the way up north on the other side of the country completely. And I came back as a integration engineer as part of the Chief Engineer's Office of the Tempest Demonstrator Programme. So that's what got me into FalconWorks as a starting point. So I finished there in about August last year. So I've been in my team now about a year, just over. It was a really good team, and so I did 2 years down the graduate scheme, and it was just a good kind of, it was like a wrap up time. It was a natural end. So I thought I'm going to move on, do something else, find a new team. But I was really keen to stay within FalconWorks because I loved the work they were doing. I found it really exciting, just so different to what I would be doing anywhere else. So I found electric products, which, as I mentioned, we've just changed to sustainable air platforms. And the reason we've changed our names is we're now doing more than just electric. So we have electric quadcopters, but we're looking at hybrid solutions, hydrogen solutions. So all different things that will really make a big difference for the future. So I joined and I came into something called the Future Talent Programme, which is a programme that is offered up after the graduate scheme, that you can look to go on afterwards if you want to kind of stay within a scheme and continue to develop yourself that way. But there's loads of different paths you can go through. I started initially as an integration engineer, but then I was asked to take quite a big jump actually, and become a technical manager. And that was in January of this year. So I wasn't in the team very long before that happened. And it was a big jump for both me and for the business. So me putting the trust that the business would support me in this big jump, but also the business putting a lot of trust into me to take this really big role. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind of the last kind of 10 months, but it's been a fantastic opportunity that I really don't think I'd have got anywhere else. So doing some really, really exciting work that I will get onto. Could we go to, oh, perfect, thank you. So then I just put here a little bit about me. I think it's good to see a bit more behind the person on the screen. So I've got what's important to me. And the reason I've put this here, I've got my siblings in the first picture, me, my partner, and my little puppy, Harvey, because my work-life balance is really, really important to me. So I wanted to be in a business that I could have flexi working, hybrid working, and I got all of that from BAE Systems. And that was a really, really big part of why I applied, and it's because it's really quite important to me. So I wanted to have a company that I could get all the great technical stuff with, but also I could focus on me and my life and how that's going to work for me. So that was a big part of it. I do a lot of volunteering outside of work, and it's probably why I'm here today as well. So I've done 100 hours of Seven Ambassador work last year. The second picture is me with the Wise Young Professionals Board, which I'll jump on the next slide. I do girl guidance, she can engineer volunteering. So there's loads of support that I get from the business to be able to do all these commitments, both in and outside of work. And it's a really big part of who I am, trying to get more women into engineering, hence this today. And then outside of all that, whenever I get some spare time, I've started to learn sign language. So I'm trying to do things that are pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, learn new skills. Love to do a bit of DIY. Engineering for me doesn't end at the end of the day. It kind of follows me home. So it's everywhere. But I'll jump onto my next slide and start looking at the opportunities that I've had within BAE. So the first one I've got here is the technical, because I think when you think about a role within engineering and you're starting to look at the company that you're going to work for, the technical is the thing you focus on. Those technical skills, they're the things that you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to get out of the role. So my first role I had, as I mentioned earlier, was on the Tempest Demonstrator Programme. And that's that very first image. And the little book next to it is to represent some of the work that I did in the reports, because naturally I can't actually put a picture of my report up. But this was meant to kind of represent the level of work and the level of responsibility that I was given as a graduate. It really surprised me. So I knew coming into a big company, you know, you hear horror stories of people making cups of tea or doing the printing. I thought, that's never going to happen. But I didn't quite expect the level of responsibility I was given. So I was asked to do a piece of work around aircraft fire, and because I was part of the safety team at the time, and ensuring that essentially the aircraft wouldn't set on fire. I just couldn't believe what, like, the level I was given. So I had loads of support to complete that work, but also a lot of trust. So a lot of trust into my technical abilities, my ability to go learn new things, because no one has all the skills from the start. I didn't do a safety degree. I didn't know about aircraft fire specifically. It's that trust to go and learn and find the solutions. The next thing is last year I got my incorporated engineer status. So for those that don't quite know what that is, it's basically just the level below chartered engineer. And the company gave me loads and loads of support to get this. So I finished this. It was about my last week on the graduate scheme that I got my iEng. And the reason I managed this so quickly was just the level of support. So the company offered mentors, they provide kind of workshops, but they also provide financial support as well, which I won't really go into because if you don't decide to join, it's not really relevant, but you can find loads of information of the support you can get from BAE around iEng, CEng, Eng Tech. There's different levels. And then this last picture is my current role, so within sustainable air platforms. And the things that we do are just so exciting and things that I truly never thought I would be getting involved with. So this was an exercise we did last year called Repmus. It was over in Portugal. And basically we took a electric quadcopter, something that's never been done before. We had it was dummy torpedo, and this had never been what would be the word, like qualified within the MAA, so our military airworthiness authorities. We've never done anything like this before, so not just as a business, but as a country. So it was a learning curve for everyone involved, and we did it at a NATO exercise, essentially in front of the world, in front of all of NATO, and we did it so quickly. It was so different. It was just so exciting to be involved with it. And the next thing I've got here is the kind of other opportunities I've been given through BAE. And these are the things that you don't really think about when you're applying, because like I said, you tend to focus on the technical. So I'll split them into internal and external, but even the external, these have all been things that have been enabled or sponsored by BAE to allow me to go to do. So the first one, that's a picture of me it was the Air Engine Awards in 2022. So this was one of my stretch assignments. So there's loads of different things you can get involved with that are called stretch assignments outside of just your day-to-day role. And they are what they say on the tin. They're to stretch you, they're to expand your skills into new areas. So I was doing the Air Engine Awards and I was leading it, but what I didn't expect was to be emceeing the whole event and having engineering directors, managing directors there on the day. So I'd been networking with them for months. But I was the one telling them, you need to be here, you need to go this way. And actually being on stage in front of about 200 people emceeing the event, it was absolutely insane and not what I thought I'd be doing at the start. The middle picture I've got, and this might make some of the recruiters cringe, but I swear, bear with me. So as part of the graduate scheme, you have to do something called an ERP, an endpoint review, and you do it on a project that you've kind of completed in the last 3 to 6 months. And I did Why Women Leave Engineering, which, bear with me here, obviously we do lots of events like this, and as a whole sector, there's lots of stuff into getting more women into engineering. But what I think can often be overlooked is the retention of women. So I wanted to put some emphasis onto this and look into it. And I got so much support from the business to recognize that, yeah, this is a problem, and not within BA, but within the whole engineering and STEM sector. I got loads of support, so much help and resources, and so much then backing as well. So I had to do this presentation just once as part of my endpoint review, but then it just kind of started getting around, and I think I did this presentation 6 times to 2 chief engineers, to 3 directors. So they were so keen to take the learning from it and make our business inclusive as possible, and start to recognize, okay, well, where are our gaps? What can we do? How do we retain more people? What is it that's happening within this sector that we can learn from as a business? So it was really good for me personally, as a woman in engineering, to see that the kind of the care and the emphasis that the business are placed on it, just to every day make it a better place. And then something that came out of this was the Women's Network. So it's probably not that clear on the screen, but it's something that me and another woman within Wharton, so we're in the Wharton unit, so for Wharton and Samlesbury, we've created a Women's Network, which is kind of it's more of a social network rather than being a formal learning opportunity. It's just where we can all get to know each other, and it's just a social network really. And that's something that came out of that presentation that we'd been missing since COVID. So again, loads of backing for it, and it's been fantastic to see. And then there's been loads of stuff externally that the business has sponsored me to do. And for me, these are things that I truly never thought I'd get out when I joined as a graduate 3 years ago. So the first one is the WISE Young Professionals Board. So that is WISE as Women in Science and Engineering, and BAE Systems are members of WISE, and they have sponsored me to sit on the board. I represent BAE, and they provide so many days out a year, and they provide things like my travel, so I can go and make really great change within this industry, and I bring things back into the business. So things that we have signed, as BAE Systems have signed the menopause pledge. That was a lot of work they did with WISE to get there. The middle one, I gave a keynote speech at a teachers conference. So it was all about educating educators. And again, the business sponsored me through all of that. And the last one actually was only last week, and I met Princess Anne. It was insane, and that was all through, it was 40 years of WISE. So again, the company provided so much support for me to go do these things, make a real difference, and bring all that great learning back into the company. So there's so much support there, and what I found is there's so much opportunity for growth, and they really want to learn from everyone, from early careers, to make sure that every day we're making it a better business and making it a better place to work. So it's absolutely blown me away, the things that I've been able to get out of it, both technical skills and very much non-technical things, so the soft sides and the opportunities as well. So I hope that gave you a bit of a flavour of all the different things you can get out of a career at BAE. I'll be around later if there's any questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lucy. That was really insightful, and I hope everybody really sort of enjoyed that talk. So next section, I'm going to introduce another two lovely ladies who are going to join our panel. So we're going to ask them a few questions around, obviously, their roles and their experiences in addition, and Lucy will be here as well to answer the questions as well. Excuse me. So I will introduce first of all Scarlett. So Scarlett, would you just like to give a brief introduction to yourself?
Yeah, sure. So hello, I'm Scarlett. I graduated last year from Lancaster University with a degree in maths and statistics. This led me to go for a job in data science. So I joined BAE in September last year. So I've been on the graduate programme for just over a year now. My day-to-day role is on a research data science space. So I split my time between two different projects, both with very different contents. And I work in the digital intelligence department of BAE, so mainly in national security.
Amazing, thank you. And we've also got Katie, if you want to give yourself a brief introduction.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Katie. I also, like Scarlett, started just over a year ago on the graduate scheme at BAE. I'm in the submarines business unit. I work in the Filton office, which is near Bristol. My role, I'm part of the ARM team, so I joined as a graduate systems engineer and joined the ARM, which is availability, reliability, maintainability, to look at how reliable equipment is on board the submarines. So it's a lot of data gathering, doing calculations, and writing reports on our findings. So we're supporting the submarines that are in service, but also supporting the design as well. My background, I studied physics at the University of Oxford. So a slight discipline change into engineering. And yeah, that's me.
Perfect. Thanks, Katie. So we've got a couple of questions, which are some of our sort of frequently asked questions that we get from candidates, what in sort of insights into working at BAE. So first of all, when you were, obviously take you back a couple of years, when you were just graduating from university and you were looking for your graduate role. So what would you say the sort of the key things you were looking for out of a role when you were applying, and that is open to any of you?
So for me, I guess the main thing was I wanted to use the skills that I'd learned at university, such as problem solving, but I wanted a slight change in discipline. I wanted a job where I could learn something new, where there was a lot of opportunity to learn on the job. And I thought the graduate scheme, in particular at BAE, was a great way to start my career. In something slightly similar to physics, but where I could learn new skills, but also continue to develop skills that I'd learnt at university. Yeah, but also part of the company is quite large, so we get quite large intakes of graduates, so there's a real community there of young people to network with. Um, and yeah, there's opportunities all throughout the country, so I was able to move to a new location for my job, somewhere that's new and exciting. So yeah, the opportunity that there was, the fact that there was a choice of locations, it wasn't just a given location, and it's quite a large business, and there's a lot of like collaboration between the different sites. So for submarines, we have 5 main, or the 6 actually, offices, and opportunity to travel between them for the meetings and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really good opportunity, I thought, at BAE, and it ticked the boxes that I was looking for in terms of learning and location.
Absolutely. And what about yourselves? Anything from you, Scarlett or Lucy?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that Katie said, but also I found that the graduate program, especially in digital intelligence, was extremely flexible. So I've been able to completely shape the graduate program for myself to go down the avenue that I wanted to go down. So although you get put on projects and stuff, it's very open that if you're not enjoying it, you can move off or try lots of different things before you roll off the graduate program. And with it being a flexible 18 to 30 months, you can definitely take your time and learn and try different things and make sure that this is the right path for you. But you're so supported in doing that. So if you're not happy or there's something in particular that you didn't think you would like to start with that you want to then pivot to, like, you are fully supported doing that, and provided with the training opportunities and the learning development to go down the path that you want.
Amazing. Anything you'd like to add, Lucy?
Yeah, so I kind of expand on that, and I chose my role as well as a graduate. So rather than just being placed there, because I did the undergraduate scheme, I was able to kind of network about the business and find a role. Obviously, I can't make roles, but find one that I was really interested in and say, okay, would you take me as a graduate? So then I came back, and that role had been, I was able to actually fill that. So there are opportunities as well to not just be placed, but to pick them as well. I wanted, I kind of wanted it all. That's what I was looking for. I thought I'd worked so hard at uni, done 5 years. I want a business that can offer everything that I wanted. So being able to, like Katie was saying, there's opportunities everywhere across the UK, but internationally as well. And there's so much support to go and change business units, to relocate, do international secondments. And that's something I was really keen to do in my career. And as I mentioned earlier, the flexibility, so hybrid working, flexi working hours, and that was something, the flexi working hours didn't come from COVID as well. So when I joined the undergraduate scheme, that was just before COVID started. So it did go into lockdown and join that, but that was already there. So it's that kind of support from the business, that work-life balance. We have to make it work for everyone, especially in a post-COVID world. But I was think it's quite important to point out that that was pre-COVID as well for BAE. So that has always been there. It's quite an important part of the business and how we view employees.
Amazing. I think that's a really important point that you've mentioned, obviously, Lucy, about the undergraduate programmes, especially if you're sort of earlier on in your your student career and you're potentially considering doing the industrial placement year or doing a summer internship. It really does sort of set you up and help you discover what it is you want to do when you graduate. So obviously we've mentioned about what you were looking for in terms of why you joined BAE, but you've all studied different subjects, and obviously we've got maths, physics, and sort of aerospace sector as well. So what sort of made you, first of all, choose the degree that you studied, and then what made you choose your specific role at BAE following on from that?
I don't mind making a start. I chose this place to study, I guess, and engineering because it's a bit of a weird story. I never knew what engineering was growing up, and I didn't have any engineering role models. I went on a field trip with primary school, and I found a machine called Lucy. Being 7 years old, obviously, I was like, "Oh, my name is Lucy. It's meant to be." And so I can't say from 7 years old I knew I wanted to be an engineer, but it always stuck with me, and the idea of STEM as an option stuck with me. So then when I started looking about, it was just there, and I truly don't believe, I truly do believe, sorry, if I hadn't have done that I don't think I'd be in this sector today. So it did kind of, it really opened my eyes to a lot. I knew that maths and physics was quite not important to me, but I was very good at it in school, and I was always very curious. I still am that person that asks why. It's the engineer in me. I want to know why, how it's made, why you're doing it that way. It annoys a lot of people, but this is what engineering is ultimately. So I had a bit of an inclination to go into the RAF at the time. So that's kind of what led me into then aeronautical engineering. And then after just a bit of reflection, I found out it was I wanted to work alongside the military rather than in it. And that's how I ended up at BAE in the defence engineering sector.
Amazing. What about yourself, Katie?
Yeah, so for me it's pretty basic really. I think it's just what I enjoyed the most, especially at A level. I know going into my A levels I just picked subjects that I enjoyed the most, so maths, physics and chemistry. And then from there I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I decided that I really enjoyed physics and I wanted to apply maths. I did really enjoy maths, but not really on its own. I wanted more of a real world application for it. So yeah, that's when I really discovered my love for physics. I had no idea where it would take me after university. And it wasn't really until my last year of uni when I was looking for jobs and yeah, the idea of being, as I mentioned earlier, moving into engineering from physics, that an opportunity to learn a new discipline, new skills that really appealed to me. And then BAE stood out as being a big, broad company with lots of opportunities, but also a lot of progression opportunities as well. So you don't just stagnate in your career. Already seeing the opportunities that I have, looking forward to exiting the grad scheme in March to continue to develop. And yeah, it was just a natural progression really from my physics degree and learning on the job. So yeah, that's what led me to BAE. I had a really positive experience for the application process, so I was really looking forward to starting. So yeah.
Amazing, thank you. And what about yourself, Scarlett? Obviously, you similarly did a sort of more general STEM degree.
Yeah, so I decided to do maths and statistics. I quite liked maths. I know that's quite bizarre, but I enjoyed it, and I thought, if I incorporate stats into that as well, that gives me a lot more opportunities, and it's not something I had considered at A level. So I thought, yeah, let's give this a go. And stats actually ended up being my favourite part, and that's what opened up the world of data science to me, which I didn't even know existed prior to my degree. So I actually completed some work experience and internship elsewhere that solidified that I definitely wanted to do this career path, but wanted to be in a company where, as cliche as it sounds, has an impact and like makes a difference to people's lives. And yeah, that's what led me to apply at BAE. And yeah, I'm here.
Amazing. I think that's a really important point as well from the degree background that obviously Katie and Scarlett have come from. Lots of the roles that are available are open to multiple disciplines. So it's definitely, if you are considering applying for roles, having a look at some of the ones that you might not expect, because as the ladies have mentioned, they are quite broad, and there's obviously a lot of on-the-job learning with them as well. So nextly, obviously, touch on a couple of things that Lucy mentioned in a presentation around some of the things that BAE have been doing to obviously try and encourage more women into engineering, and to obviously to stay with us as well. So what, from your guys' perspective, can you tell us about maybe some of the things that BAE during your sort of experience here has done to sort of encourage you as obviously female engineers and the sort of the team in general?
Yeah, for me, it was really from the start. I noticed that the push that they had for the women in STEM, it was on an advert for the job that I saw they were looking to increase the women in engineering community at BAE, so recruiting more women into the business. And then, yeah, from there, starting the role, it's quite a diverse community of graduates who I started with quite a few women in the engineering sector. And then since then, I've helped at a few of these outreach events that are specifically targeted at women in STEM. So there's been quite a push from the outreach part of the business to for these kind of events specifically for women. And then there's so we have employee resource groups in the business, and one of those is the Gender Equity Network, which is looking at women within the business. So, a few months ago, I attended the Women in Engineering Day conference that they held, which was a whole day dedicated to talks from women to inspire less senior people in the business, such as graduates. Yeah, so that was a really good event. Yeah, and within my team, I've really been inspired by one of my team members in particular, who is a woman in engineering. She's a lot higher grade than me, but yeah, seeing her career and how she's managed her work-life balance as well. And she also came from a physics degree, so she's been really inspiring to me. And I've done a lot of work with her within the team, so it's been really nice to have her as like a mentor within my team. So yeah, that's my experience.
Amazing. Scarlett, anything specific? Obviously, you're in a different business unit, or anything that you'd like to add around that?
Yeah, sure. So we do have the same employee resource groups, which are super helpful to get involved with, especially with the women focused ones. So like you said, Jen and Women in Cybersecurity is another one that we have. The graduate program in general is just super supportive. Like it's trying to be as diverse as possible and hire as equally as possible. So getting onto a program like that, you're automatically guaranteed the support via that, and then that continues throughout your whole career development. I know in digital intelligence, apart from the grad program, there's other initiatives for women. So one example is Code First Girls, where if you're joining a STEM career, specifically a coding software development type role, you can do a 12-week placement with a job guaranteed at the end of it from BAE. So that's another sponsor that another way that they sponsor women to get into this industry also.
Amazing. Is there anything you'd like to add, Lucy?
Yes, so also there's everything that's already been mentioned, and when events like this, to try and get more women to see these opportunities and make sure they know what's out there. We have things, as I mentioned earlier, we are members of WISE, which is Women in Science and Engineering. And once you join a WISE organisation, every single person can become a WISE member. So because BAE have paid for that membership, every single, not even just women, but every single person that works at BAE Systems can go online and get that membership. So there's lots of stuff like that as well. But just to kind of caveat everything that's been said as well, once you're in the business, there's not engineers and female engineers. You are an engineer. There's, it's not different because you're a female. We're doing events like this to make sure, like I said, to make sure females see these opportunities and know what's out there, because there's systemic problems and there's things that the business tries to tackle from the systemic side as well. But once you're in the business and you're in your team, you are just an engineer. You are the same as everyone else. I'm not going to say there's no bad eggs out there in the world, but we're all just there in the team. We're all working together. You're not different because you're a female. So I hope it doesn't. Also, it's their initiatives, but as well, you are just kind of one of the team, which I mean in a good way.
Amazing. So one final question in this section for you three guys. So what advice would you give to our students that are on the call today if they're considering working in a STEM related role at BAE?
I don't mind starting as I'm off mute. I'd honestly say go for it. Go for it. Ask all the questions. Never feel like you can't ask questions, because there is absolutely no one that knows everything. So just keep asking all the questions. And the more questions you ask, the more doors will be open to you. So as Scarlett mentioned earlier, she didn't know this area even existed before she did her degree. There's so much out there, whether it's at BAE or outside. Even within, I learn about new areas of the business every day because it's such a big business. So if you just keep asking those questions, don't be afraid to, you'll find things you never even knew existed. So just go for it.
Amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also as well, especially the science and technology world, it's just so different. It's changing all the time. There's loads of new research, new innovations. Like, there is so much to learn. You will not be bored. Your job will look completely different in a year's time because everything's changing, and it's a very stimulating environment. And it's good to know that, like, there's good progression opportunities and to apply those critical thinking skills that you've learned through your STEM degrees and things like that. Yeah, it's ever changing, and that makes it exciting, I guess.
Yeah, and I think leading on from what Scarlett was saying, I think it's all about adaptability. There's always so much changing within the STEM sector, but just being open really to trying new things. Don't be afraid to give stuff a go. You never really know until you try, but also not being afraid to switch disciplines as well, like Scarlett and I have done, trying new things and being open to all the opportunities really. And yeah, I'd say I guess there's a bit of a stereotype with STEM subjects or careers being boring, but I can tell you that's definitely not true. There's never a dull moment here working. I know within the submarines business unit, there's always something going on, always something new to learn, and it's really quite interesting. So yeah, don't be afraid of the stereotype of it being boring. It's not true.
Amazing. So I'll say thank you again to Katie, Lucy and Scarlett for again sharing your insights, and hope everybody's found that really useful and interesting. So I'm going to move on to our final part of the presentation. So I'm going to introduce another two ladies. So we've got Holly and Naomi, who are part of the early careers team, as I mentioned at the start, who work as graduate recruiters, who are going to give sort of an overview around the recruitment process and some of the roles and locations available. So I'll pass it over to you two now.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Jenny. Just checking you can hear me okay. Hopefully that sounds
Yes.
all right. Excellent. So yeah, thank you so much to the ladies who've spoken previously. Now you've heard from them. I'm sure you'll want to know more about applying for our roles. As Jenny said, myself and Naomi work in the early careers recruitment team, and we just wanted to go through a little bit about the application process and yeah, the types of roles we've got available. So just move on to my next slide. So yeah, we're just going to talk you through the application process here. So we've just broken it down into a few steps. So your first step, you'd submit an online application for our website, and that should take around 30 minutes. Step 2, moving on to our on-demand interview and gaming assessment. That shouldn't take too long either, only around 30 minutes. I know the girls previously will have gone through that themselves. Step 3, you would then receive instant feedback, so that will be in the form of a report. So that will come to you via email once you've completed that assessment. So you've got an idea of how you've done in that. And then moving on to stage 4, you'd be contacted by your recruiter, so one of us. There's about 15 of us on our team, and that will be for an initial screening call, which would take about 10 to 15 minutes of your time. And then if you were successful from there, you would be booked in for interview. Then following that, you'd complete your interview. Now, some are face-to-face, some are virtual interviews, and that is dependent on business unit. So that would be discussed in a bit more depth when the time came. And your interview would last around 1 hour and 15 minutes. So then your final stage, once you've wowed at interview, the successful candidates, you'd be made an offer of employment with us from there. And I'm sure you can see it's a pretty straightforward process, not too many stages along the way or any of those arduous kind of assessment centres and things. We do want to make these processes as enjoyable for you guys as possible and not leave you waiting too long for an outcome, basically. So yeah, that's our application process.
Thanks, Holly. Hi, so my name is Naomi. I'm another one of the recruiters. So if you haven't been on our website yet, then just for your awareness, all our vacancies are now live for 2025. So they all went live on the 12th of September. We are recruiting for undergrads, summer interns and graduates across 9 business units. And if you have a look at the slide now, I have listed all our business units with the locations. So obviously have a look on there, and I always kind of recommend try and find somewhere closer to home if you can. We also recommend getting your application across sooner rather than later, just because some of our roles do get oversubscribed and we do close them early. So if you are thinking about applying, hopefully all of you, then get on our website and have a look on there. With regards to job roles in terms of criteria, we do list everything on there. So it will have the location, responsibilities, all the amazing benefits and the entry criteria. And then in terms of eligibility as well, I have included that on the slide, but just while we're going through it. So for the graduate role, you will need a minimum of a 2-2 in a relevant field relating to the programme. We do list that on the advert. And then for the summer internship and the undergraduate courses, to be eligible, you have to be returning to university. But there's lots of amazing opportunities on there. And you can see from the slide as well, just about the salary and the length of the programmes. I'm just conscious of time, so I don't really want to delve too deep into it. But if we move on to the next slide, we have put a link to our website and our email address. So we'll put that in the chat box as well. So it's gart@baesystems.com. So if you do have any specific questions relating to roles, or you just want to have a chat with us, obviously me and Holly are one of the recruiters, but we are a big team. There are 14 other recruiters. Then drop us an email and we can provide you further information for you. But yeah, thank you for your time.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Holly and Naomi. I'm sure there'll be some questions in the chat for you as well around recruitment. So for the final section, as I said at the start of the session, we are open to your questions. So if you've not put a question either for one of our recruiters or one of our panelists today, please do put them in the chat so we can answer your questions. So the last thing I want to mention to you before we go to those questions is around our talent community. So you should be able to see a QR code on the screen. Would really encourage you, if you are interested in BAE, to scan that. That essentially will ask you a couple of questions, takes about 5 minutes to sign up, and you will then become part of the BAE Systems Early Careers talent community. So essentially it means you'll get sort of updates on events that are happening, when new roles launch, sort of like the first look at roles, and also information around interviewing at BAE, how to do sort of the online applications, and also information about our different business units if you're sort of trying to decide on what sort of role or what sort of area of the business you would want to work in. And those come every couple of weeks, depending obviously on your degree, discipline and location. But would really encourage you to scan that. You'll get a welcome email from me tomorrow, just giving you information about the talent community. So whether you are a first year and you think I'm not going to be applying for a graduate role till 2028, it gives you the opportunity to look at some of the other undergraduate roles as well. Or if you are graduating and want more information around specific roles, we can also point you in the right direction there as well. So I have seen there is a few questions that have come in, so I will cover those, and please do put any more questions in that you want to ask. So first of all, this is probably for the recruiters. So what are you looking for in terms of an applicant for a student placement role? So I presume that's the summer internship roles.
Do you want us to speak? Sorry, or we're putting it in the chat?
Yeah, you can just answer, Naomi.
Okay, so I'll leave that one to Holly. I'll just go on to, there's a couple of us with regards to restrictions. So that's more my roles that I look after. So yeah, we do have restrictions on some of our roles. We do specify that on the adverts, but I would always say just put your application in anyway, and we will review it. If we do feel in terms of your skill set that you might be better suited for another role, an alternative, then we will reach out to you. And yes, we do offer sponsorship. We do cover that as well.
Amazing. Holly, you're right to answer around what we're looking for in an applicant for the obviously the undergraduate roles, which obviously is slightly different to the graduate positions.
Sure. I mean, with regards to like summer internships and undergraduates roles and things, it's a good way. Like even if you're in like your first year, you can come and join us on a summer internship and things like that. It's not like it's restricted to someone who's really, really experienced. But we're looking for that base kind of passion in obviously your degree and the role you're applying for, that you've done your research on that role and that you've got like a passion for those projects and you've really kind of delved into that. I would say when we're doing our screening calls, we get a really good picture of that, and we do kind of do a bit of kind of probing, kind of understanding your interest and background on that. So I'd say definitely have a think about what that role means to you and why you're applying for it. And don't just kind of apply for the sake of it. Definitely have some, because I know the girls on this call have had a lot of they had a lot of like passion in their role to start off with. So yeah, I think we do look for that kind of spark. Hopefully that helps. Naomi, do you have anything to add on that?
No, that's brilliant.
Is that all right?
I'll just say, if you are thinking about applying now, when you make your application, you will have 7 days to complete your online assessment. So just be mindful, if you've got a holiday planned or you might not have Wi-Fi or anything like that. When we do screen your application, we will send you an invite for an online assessment. And you will have 7 days from that email to complete. So just bear that in mind if you are putting an application in. It will be around a week from that email.
Also, with that, if you're applying for an undergraduate placement, just bear in mind when you put in on your application as well about when you graduate, because if it was to push you to like a year on, make sure you put that you graduate in like 2020, like after you would, because you'd be returning to university. So it just means that when we're going for applications, we can quite clearly see that you will be returning to university, and we don't have to kind of come back to you and say, oh, it says you're graduating in whatever. Do you know, that means you wouldn't be returning to university. So that's a tip for if you're applying for an undergraduate placement, just make sure you push it on a year for your graduation, essentially, just to show us you're returning to university.
Amazing. There's one last question that came in, which is around interviews. So what advice would you give in terms of preparing for an interview?
So if you've been invited to an interview, or you just have a general query about it, so our interviews are competency based. So we look at your behaviours in line with the BAE behaviours and our values, and then also technical questions. So my best possible advice is to make sure you research BAE, make sure you've got a good idea of what we do, the business unit that you're applying for. Make sure you research the role, you fully understand what that role is. Obviously, we do include our mail address. So if you've got queries about a specific role, you can reach out to us. And then when it comes down to the actual interview, especially with competency-based questions and behavioural, we recommend using that STAR technique model. You can Google it. There's a lot of information out there on the web. And you know, we do ask behavioural questions around the BAE ones, so have a look on our website, the BAE behaviours, but just prep. And the best advice is just to be yourself. You know, we're all human at the end of the day. We want to get to know you as a person, so you know, be yourself, get your prep done, use your STAR technique, and you can't really go wrong with that, really. Obviously, you can go into further depth. We do have information out on our website, but there's a lot of amazing material online as well in terms of prepping for interview. And we do include that on our interview confirmation as well, a little bit of advice. But yeah, just be your amazing self, I would say.
Amazing. Thanks, Naomi. That was really useful. So that looks like that's all the questions in the chat. So I hope that you've got your questions answered, and I will hand back over to Fern to close the session.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. I just want to jump on and say like a final thank you to all of the team at BAE Systems for joining us today and for kind of giving a bit more of an insight about their experiences at the company, but also answering these really key questions that you guys are asking as well. And just to be sure and make sure that you look at all of the links that the team have put into the chat, and look at our website as well, and their platform on our website to look at a bit more about their opportunities that they do have. But for now, that was everything. So I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day and take care. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. Bye.